Hello, I'm Rick Barclay, and I'm with Piano Clubhouse, and today we're going to learn a favorite song of mine when I was a kid called The Music Box Dancer. It was written in the mid-70s, but became popular, if you will, in the early 80s, and it's in the key of C in 4/4 time signature, so let's do the scale real quick, and then we'll get into learning the parts. C major is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now this song, we give you forewarning, there's lots of notes going on here, so we're going to take things very slow, very methodical, and bit by bit, part by part, breaking things down. So just be patient with this one, and with time you'll be able to get through this. Alright, so let's get started. The first part actually starts out in the treble clef with your left hand. It's doing a C arpeggio, C, E, G, C are the notes that are being utilized, and it's hoggling back and forth using eighth notes. Okay, so those notes are C, E, G, E, C, G, E, G. That's the first measure, and it basically repeats that 4 times. So let me play that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and C, E, G, E, C, G, E, G. The third time now. So it's just doing an arpeggio back and forth, outlining the chord. And that's how the whole piece starts. The first 4 measures are that. And do hold down the pedal while you're doing all that. It helps connect the notes better. And this piece is supposed to be a resemblance of a music box, a piece that you would hear typical in a music box when you wind them up and you see the little dancer going around, and nice little dainty type piece. So you're going to hear a lot of stuff up here in the treble clef. And occasionally our left hand is going to go down into the bass or traditional bass area. And when it gets into that, I'll explain why it is doing that and in regards to the recording. Okay, so that's the first 4 measures. Now I'm going to continue with the left hand and show you the next 2 measures that it's going to be doing. It's still going to do the C triad, C, E, G, C, E, G, C, G. So that's different than what it was doing. And then here's the next measure, an F triad, basically arpeggiated, F, A, C, F, and then it goes back to a C, C, E, G, C. Okay, so let's do that again. C, E, G, C, E, G, C, G. Now here's the F, F, A, C, back to a C. Okay, so now let's look at the right hand. It does a pickup note. Remember, pickup notes, if you've ever listened to any of my lessons here at Clubhouse Piano, that we're going to be doing a pickup note, which means it occurs prior to the next full measure. So on the and of 4, it's a C. So and 1. So it repeats that twice. So C, C, G, C, E, C, E, G, C, C, B, A, G. Okay, let me do that all again. Again, lots of information here, and it's going to be kind of difficult when you put them all together, so it's important to get each part down. So double C's to start. C, C, G, C, E. And notice how I'm shifting my fingers, because we got to have the thumb on here, because eventually we're going to be stretching out and hitting that octave C. So that C on the count 3 needs to be with the thumb. E, G, C. Now here's our stretch. Just walking down the scale. Okay, so now let's put those 2 together. That's going to be kind of difficult. So here's our pickup note on the and of 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay, one more time. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and Now here's the next third measure. Left hand only. G, B, D, G, B, D, G, D. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and one measure. And basically we're outlining a G chord. It's officially a G7 chord because of what happens in the melody up in the right hand, but your left hand is only doing the G triad. So again, G, B, D, G, B, D, G, D. Next measure, C triad, C, E, C, octave C, G, E, G, C, G. Okay, a lot of specific notes there, so let's go through all that one more time. Both of those measures, left hand. G, B, D, G, B, D, G, D, C, E, G, C, G, E, G, C, G. Alright, right hand, which is doing the melody, is outlining this G7 chord. So it's G, F, D, B, G, B, D, F, E, C, A, G. So that last measure was outlining a C chord minus this A, which is kind of outside of the chord. So let's do that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and here's a C. Okay, putting those two parts together now. They're basically going to be going inside to one another. Starting on the outside, when I call outsides, it's the pinkies, and you're working your way in like that. Now we're ready for the C chord. Now basically it's going to repeat all that stuff again. So let's do it. Here we go. 3, 4. Notice that clashes a little bit, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with clashes every now and then. Oops, I should have done a C. Sorry, my fault. And that ends that measure. Now, a lot of specific things with notes that you were having to do. So my advice to you is that if you get confused about, well, should I have done that one and where should I toggle back for it, so on and so forth, look at it like this. Here's the G triad. We need to be playing some of these notes somewhere, toggling back and forth, but what's most important is making sure that all these notes are exactly intact in the melodic line in your right hand. Not saying the left hand is not important, don't mean that by any means, but because there's so many specific things that are going on that we're not just blocking chords, that you could forget exactly which note that you're doing. So, let that just kind of be a word of advice that if you do forget, just think, okay, here's my G triad, what notes can I play that will make sense with what's going on here and not get in the way and, fumble upon one another. Alright? So that's this is in AABA format, which means basically we just did the first A section. Is one set of chord changes. Now we're going to do the same exact thing again, the same melody line and same chord changes, except this time we're going to do some more movement of coming down into the bass with your left hand and some other additional up here 8VA. What we mean 8VA is up an octave of the same notes that we played down here the first time. The second time we're going to come up here. What happens in the recording is this is where the band basically kicks in with the piano and gives a fuller sound. So when you're doing this just by yourself, you're going down into the bass clef is basically opening this up to where it has a fuller sound. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in your left hand. Again, we've already done through one time. Now here's basically, I guess technically the third time, but it's the second A section. So it's a C, and then G, C, and E. And then you can just kind of toggle back and forth between these guys. Again, it doesn't really matter, and I don't mean to not put importance on things, but if you just happen to kind of mess around with toggling back and forth in different ways, any of those combinations works fine. You don't have to get so bent out of shape about that's got to be perfect each time. But technically, this is what it is that's the first measure. Second measure, your left hand comes all the way down to the F, and then you're doing an F again, and then C and an A together right here. So that's just for basically half a measure. And then the other half is a C, and you can just basically outline a C open fifth type sound, 3 and 4 and. Okay, let me do that again. So C's, F's, C. Okay, now what happens in right hand is the same melody as what we've already learned before. So double C's to G, C, E, C, E, G, C, C, B, A, G. Okay, so let's do all that together. Again, I'll go slow. Now what happens is we're going to come up an octave where we were doing this earlier. Now we're going to come way up here and do more of the same melody but in an octave higher. Your left hand, notice what's going to happen, we're going to be way stretched out. We're basically 2 octaves apart from one another. G's, and it's a G7. So what happens is you hit the low G note and then come up to the octave G in your left hand, and then it's going to be B, D, F. That's the 7th, if you will, in the G7 chord. Again, just kind of toggle back and forth between those guys, and then it's back to a C. Okay, so let's do that. The melody, again, is way up here. So they're really sped apart. Back down to where you were before pick up into the next. So we're repeating this now. Now notice how at that time I just kind of did something a little bit different than what I did before. Like I said, it's okay just as long as you're playing the same chord tones. Here's the C. Now up an octave in this. G's, G7. Back to C. Now we're getting ready to go to the B section of this piece. So I did 3 C's in a row, and again, you can just kind of toggle back and forth these chord tones down here. Now we're ready for a way up here high. It's an F triad, and notice I did a little rake, glissando, if you will, and way apart. F way down here, and it's C, F,